audience. So be prepared for blinding rain and heavy and high winds. Steve's sitting here. Steve Hess is here with the Bible guys, and then also in here is Mr. Beach. He's sitting over there, and you said you heard that the wind's supposed to be up at 75 miles an hour.
Someplace to go.
Oh Lord have mercy!
Mess up my hair.
1 inch
Yeah.
hail, 1 inch hail, 75 miles an hour.
1 inch hail.
Yep.
Okay, so it sounds like to me that when we're about ready to go home, Val, umbrellas aren't going to help us.
I mean, that's windy and kicking up right now.
Yeah.
Starting to sprinkle.
Well, it's going to pour here in just a few minutes. Have you seen the color radar yet? It looks like a picture of your lower intestine.
Oh my goodness, is that long?
So, yeah, that's what it looks like. It's all yellow and reds out there, and heavy rain coming our way. We've been waiting for this all weekend, and it hadn't been coming, and now it's going to finally arrive. So I'm lucky enough that they cut my lawn yesterday, so I got the grass cut just before it's going to rain like Noah's Ark. So we'll see how that's going to be before the day is up. I don't think I'm going to need my sunglasses today. I don't think that's going to be necessary. All right, Steve Hess here. The Bible guys are busy today. Billy is ill, and Scott, it's the beginning of Vacation Bible School. And that means busy for the church. And I know that we just got done over at New Life with the summer Bible push, and we had a bunch of kids this year. I mean, we had a bunch of kids this year. It's good.
Yeah, got to
It's
train the
good.
next generation.
You know, you get the young kids in there and start teaching them the truth now, because they're going to need it. Because I'm telling you what, it doesn't look like they've gotten things straightened out the way I want to see it straightened out in Iran yet, Steve, and you're concerned about it too.
Oh yeah, I'm very concerned about it. When all of this started, a lot of people. Well, let me back up and say this. There's a prophecy in the book of Ezekiel 37, 8, and 9, and it talks about this war of Gog and Magog, and it mentions Rosh, Tubal, and then it mentions also I think it's Ethiopia and Persia.
Okay.
And because of the Gog and Magog is the area of Turkey, Persia obviously is Iran, and then the idea of Rosh, they think that means Russia. It doesn't actually means, it means head of those particular. Rosh means leader, and but still part of Gog Magog is part of the Russia. So there's always been this belief that there will be a Russian
component,
Russian, Turkey, and Iranian marriage that will eventually go and be in this war. And so everybody gets so ridiculous about their knee-jerk reaction about things that when Russia started to go in Ukraine, and then all of your hyper prophecy guys are out running. Oh, Russia's moving. I was like, yeah, they're 1,000 miles north of Israel. Relax, right? They're dealing with Ukraine, and by the way,
they're not doing that very well,
right? And they're not doing very well. So this idea that they could be some force, and when it comes to prophetic things, people have often overlooked Turkey. Turkey is actually a very self-sufficient. They have the fifth largest army. And they're like debt free, and they don't need any outside help. They got their own oil, they got their own minerals, and so they've just been flying under the radar. A lot of people think that Turkey was the one that undermined Assad, so they could move and push further in. I was listening to some of the commentators, and these aren't podcasters. These are geopolitical analysts, kind of people who study this kind of stuff, and they were basically saying there is no more Syria. That Syria is now Turkey.
Okay.
And that the guy, Al-Jilani is, he was a puppet. Even President Trump said that at one of the meetings, and he looked at Erdogan and said, good job on what you did in Syria, getting your man in there and taking control of that. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of one of those things that he just like openly acknowledged whatever intel he might have had, knowing that this guy was a puppet of Turkey. And so then now you've got Iran. And I said when all of this stuff was starting with Iran, even from a year ago when we first did the 12-day war and we bombed all their stuff.
Yeah, it's been a year since those B-2s were over Iran.
Yep. And then when it started back in, was it February, March? And I said to Billy and Scott and some of the other guys, I said, if they are successful and we really take Iran out of the picture to where they're not able to push back, then that's really going to have to cause all of the prophecy guys to redo their charts. And that's why when I talk about prophetic events in the future, I don't take absolutes, because I think that, well, the way I tell people and the way I teach prophecy is not meant to foretell. It's meant to confirm. And what I mean by foretell, yes, it foretells the future, but it's not so you can say this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And so when the events begin to transpire, then you can go, oh, and that's what happened when Jesus came the first time. And when the events begin to happen, he was criticizing everybody from the disciples to the religious leaders. And he's like, look at what you're seeing. Look at the stories that you are hearing. Go search the scriptures. How can you not see that this is the time? And why? Because they all have preconceived notions about how Jesus was supposed to come, how the Messiah was supposed to come the first time. But there were people who were recognizing, because they were calling him Son of David, which is a way of saying Messiah.
Right.
But they expected him to come as Son of David, the one who was going to conquer, lead them against Rome and all of that. And so they missed this idea of him coming as the suffering servant of Joseph. Why? Because they had it all figured out according to their prophetic view. And he came differently. I believe 150% things are going to transpire differently than how most of the prophecy teachers are teaching it.
All right. So how do you see it?
I don't
unfolding. Okay.
Or you're not listening? No. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't take an absolute position. That and that's why I said this with Iran, that I said, if we are successful, then that really messes up that whole situation. But
Correct.
now that Iran is going to come out of this, they're going to survive this, and they're eventually going to flourish again. It looks like it. Then that really almost kind of confirms that prophecy is going to ultimately be fulfilled, because they didn't lose. And however that works out theologically, whether, God stops the situation or I don't know. God knows that. But it appears they're going to survive it. And it's because of the position that I think that we're in. I think we're in a very weak position that I was hearing even a couple of weeks ago. And the reason that there's multiple reasons why they had to negotiate the way they were doing it. And one is because it wasn't just that America was losing their oil reserves, even though everybody's making bank in America right now because all the empty vessels were coming here. But it didn't help us. It didn't help because the guys who were selling the oil here could sell it to the highest bidder.
That's right. It's a worldwide commodity.
Correct. And then they weren't replenishing the reserves. Well, that is happening globally. That globally the oil reserves are running down. And and I want to say the date time frame was by the end of July, 1st of August, that if they didn't get the Strait of Hormuz opened by like the 1st of July, that by the end of July, the 1st of August, we would see 1970 style gas rationing globally. We're already in America, because we're already seeing it in Asia and African countries, South American countries, where in Asia, they primarily ride a lot of those little scooters around.
Right.
They can't even get gas for those things. They're getting 50 miles a gallon. And it's really starting to have an effect. And I think what has happened, and the Iranians know this, is that they know that if they keep that shut down, they know how sensitive we are, and that we don't like disruptions to our life. And they know that if they can slow that down and start making it more painful for us, that they have the upper hand. And I think when you couple also how many of the munitions that we have ran through all of this, I think that's part of the reason why Trump had to negotiate the way he did. And I don't think he likes it for a second, just his ego alone. I'm actually surprised he's not burning the country to the ground, and not surprised that he doesn't run us out of oil and run us out of all of our ammunition just so he can say, I won. But right now he is having to take it on the chin and admit, but without admitting, he's going to have to negotiate, but not admit that the Iranians won this. They won. All of the people in Israel are saying this. Trump's approval rating went down to 8% in Israel because of this negotiation.
Well, I saw the people of Iran are not happy with
No,
Trump.
and that's the part. This is, Obama did this back in 2008, and the Iranian people rose up in 2008. He didn't send any help,
Right.
and Trump said, "I'm going to send help,"
And he did.
and he did. And they slaughtered 40,000 people in their streets. And if there's ever a time that you're going to do something for moral reasons, not because of oil or anything like that, but because this is the kind of people, and this is what people don't understand about the Sunni Shia. They call them the Twelvers. Because they're waiting for this 12th imam. They are a global apocalyptic death cult. That's what the Shia Muslim belief is. They want the world to fall apart because they believe, sometimes evangelical Christians, those who believe in the literal physical return of Jesus, they believe that we're trying to support Israel to facilitate the end times, which is not true. It's what people believe about the end times, and what believe God's going to do with Israel is why we support Israel. They believe that they have to cause the chaos for their Messiah that they call the Mahdi to come.
Right.
And so that's why they want the chaos. And I think that the way they're negotiating all of this, I don't think this is going to go clean up anytime soon. And I wouldn't be surprised if, because the way Trump responds to everything, I wouldn't be surprised if they finally get him so frustrated and he goes, "That's it. Let's nuke them." I wouldn't be surprised. So it's a very touchy situation.
All right. We'll come back. We'll talk more about this. That's a rather more dismal picture than we've been hearing from prophecy people.
Yeah. No, I'll go more into that when we get back.
Okay. We'll do that here at the Dave Ellswick Show, 719. Let's get a break in, and then we'll come back and talk more about end times here on the Dave Ellswick Show.
And there are some people that are so pro-Trump that they think he's playing 6D chess, and they believe that all of the spat that's happening with Israel is orchestrated to make it look like and they actually think it's an effort to fix the anti-Semitism that's rising. So a lot of people think that what we did in Iran is because of Israel's pressure on America.
Right.
And that it wasn't because of our own interest in all of that.
I see it just a little bit different. You said that but I see it as a win, because anytime you put two aircraft carriers that are big cities that close to a country, along with all the other high-tech stuff, satellite imagery, all the listening devices, electronic listening devices, and then also flying over and finding out where everything's at. You've gained a ton of intel over there. I mean, a ton of intel. And that's worth quite a bit.
No, it's three aircraft carriers, not two. It's three.
Well, what I'm saying, you had some big ships over there.
Yeah.
And we got to test out some weapons that we had never got to test before, right? Some unmanned vessels, and like that boat that went out in the I mean, we got to test some stuff. We got a lot of information there that we can. So if we had to go back in again, we're not going in blind and folded. We're not going in blind and think. We know where their stuff is at. We know where the people are located at. And then when you pull back, what happens? People move. And you got a AI out there, and the satellite imagery and the listening devices are listening at millions of bits of information at a time. So they can tell exactly where these people are moving to. They can tell where their weapons are at. They can tell where they're...
One of the things that's been difficult for them to see is they have news. They followed the Ukrainian model, right, and they went to the drones. And so they are actively replenishing their missile stockpile. But what they have done is they've built a lot of drone factories in buildings that they don't have to go outside of. And so they're building tens of thousands of drones inside buildings, and we don't know where they're building.
Well, I think they know where they're building them. They know that they're building them inside. They know that you have certain materials that are going to migrate to those places, and certain personnel. You're going to start seeing those.
Yeah, here we go. A little bit of music there. I love that. 7:22 on a Monday morning. Wow.
What was that?
What was that?
I'm like 5 foot. Oh, that was the European Union chanting, "Send them back."
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's going to be if you haven't been following the news, Starmer has resigned in England. He has resigned.
I think that's something else that's flying under the radars of a lot of American, and they are finally Europe is having enough. And about prophecy, there's this guy that I was following years ago. His name was Waleed Shobat. He was a former Palestinian terrorist, became a Christian. And he said that one day the future war is not going to be the nations against Israel. He believes it's going to be the East versus the West. And that Europe will remember its Christian heritage. And that and I think this massive immigration into Europe, and it is destroying the European culture.
Yeah, Western culture.
Everybody but Poland and Hungary. They're the only ones I think that are. I know Poland for sure, but I think Hungary as well. That are telling all of the Muslims to stay out. And I watched this funny video of the president of Poland, and it was some BBC reporter asking him about being racist and all this other kind of stuff, and he said no. He said we are a Christian nation, period. And he said, he goes, we do not have Muslim immigrants. He goes, but you know what we don't have here? Rape gangs. You know what we don't hear?
We talked about that last week here on the show.
Yeah. And I think that, and I was actually surprised when I read the thing about Stammer this morning, when he said that everything he did for his country that he loves. And it's like, you can't be serious. Because you have to realize, and this is why I think a lot of the stuff that is happening is a spiritual blindness. It doesn't make any sense why Europe or America right now is currently allowing so many Muslim immigrants into this nation illegally and allowing them to. This is what people don't realize. When they build a mosque in this country, it is now Islamic land. And so it no longer belongs to America. We think it does, and it may be legally, but in their mind, it belongs to Allah.
Okay.
And so when they go back and they're saying they're moving back into Europe, they're just saying, hey, we're taking back what we had all the way up until the Crusades.
Right.
And that's the part that so many people misrepresent because of some of the bad things that were done during the Crusades. But the Crusades were a pushback because of the Western migration of Islam.
Well, it happened because the Muslims were trying to overtake Europe at that point.
Correct. And there was this one lovely, funny video that I saw, and I think it was an Irish guy, and somebody asked him, he was like doing a Charlie Kirk thing, and he was standing in this big open square, and somebody said, well, what about the Crusades? And he goes, let's talk about the Crusades. And then he goes off, and he said, the Crusades were a result of Muslims moving into Christian Egypt. They were a result of the Muslims moving into Christian Armenia, Christian Syria, Christian Europe.
Spain.
And he went through and he listed all the countries that all of these, because Egypt was an enormous Christian population, as Syria was. Forget when in Turkey, the Turks are not naturally born to that area. They moved in from the east, and that the largest church in all of Christendom, Hagia Sophia, was that they now turned into a mosque. And so there was an enormous Christian population throughout all of that. The 7 churches in the book of Revelation are actually in Turkey.
Right.
Yeah. And so anyway.
And you have the Coptic Christians in Egypt.
And even when you tell people and you go, hey, let's talk about the Marine Corps fight song, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. And they went to go fight the Barbary pirates. And when asked about it, they said, we are commanded by Muhammad to enslave the dhimmis. And so it's just who they are. This isn't going to stop. And I think that you're finally getting in a wake up from Europe. They have to, because if they do not, the single most popular boy name in England right now is Muhammad. And France is literally one generation away from losing. And in 100 years from now, if we're still here, Lord hasn't come back, whatever, then France will be a Muslim country, and the history of the Franks will be gone. It will be gone, and it will be a Muslim nation. It's just impossible, really, without physical means to take the nation back, because they have like a 1.2 child birth rate right now, and all the Muslims in there are having 6 and 7 kids. And so,
we're still under, but we're close to still being replaceable.
Correct. Yeah, we're still at that. We're at the sustaining mode. We're somewhere around
2.2 or something like that.
So, and you need to, it's like 2.2 just to sustain the current culture, and we're hovering right about there. But a lot of ours is coming from immigration as well. There is, I did watch an interview that was talking about how that there has been a surge in this nation with people starting to have babies, but it's necessary. And I think this pushback against the Prime Minister of England is a result of that.
Well, he has done a lot of, I'll just say, GA things.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not shown himself to be, number one, very smart geopolitically, and number two, very smart when it comes to, politics in general.
One has to ask, are these guys so blinded by greed? What is it?
Yes.
Now, I got some people that will tell you that this is all part of some grand global conspiracy and Illuminati kind of stuff, and they're all in on it. And, some people call it the whole big global secret pedophile control ring and whatever. I don't necessarily subscribe to all of that. But but you almost have to at least entertain it, just because there seems to be a concerted effort to destroy the West. And it involves a lot of the leaders. And I just don't know what's going to change it in this country. There really does have to be a biblical revival, but there has to be a patriotic revival as well.
All right, so we're about a minute out from the news. So while we got this minute, why don't you talk about why you see things being a lot darker than a lot of other people do?
I think for America, that when I say darker, the prominent theology, it's not numerically the prominent theology, but it's the prominent teaching is this idea of the rapture of the church before things go south.
Yeah.
And whether that's true or not,
pre-trib.
Right. And if there is, great. If there isn't, okay. But I think that we have this idea that the church isn't going to see any of this. There's not going to be any difficulties, and that somehow we'll be taken out, and then all of the hell on earth, so to speak, will happen. But I think that in order for, we'll definitely need more on the other side of the break for this.
Yeah.
But definitely with the nations that are going to come against Israel, America has to come off the scene. And so we either have to be in a position where we cannot help Israel, or we have to be part of the people that turn against Israel.
All right. We'll talk more about this on the other side. Bill O'Reilly is up next, and we'll be back here on the Dave Ellswick Show. 101.1, The Answer. Okay.
That's France and Poland.
Yep.
That's basically what's happening.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
That's what's happening over there right now.
When Conor McGregor is thinking about running for politics because
chance of rain is anywhere between 89 and 99%. And we're looking for torrential thunderstorms today, and we're looking for high winds today. And we heard some information about maybe, we'll have hail inch in diameter, as far as that goes. So who knows? We'll find out. Mother Nature, she can be a little bit contrarian at times. But what's good is that I'm trying to think of the weather phenomenon that's going on right now.
El Nino.
Yeah, El Nino. Thank you. Is strengthening in the West, and that of course goes across the United States and breaks up all of the really terrible weather out in the Pacific, and then we don't see as many hurricanes, and that's why the National Weather has not been calling for a very active hurricane season through the rest of this fall. We'll see. Right. I mean, things can change on a dime.
It was pretty mild last year.
Yeah, it was, and I think it's going to be maybe more mild this year. But that does mean that we're going to be wetter, and we're going to be a little closer to the freeze mark during the winter time, which means we might see more ice this upcoming winter than we've seen in the past.
Good, because I'm tired of sweating in a deer stand.
Well, I'm tired of, I don't want another 2000, 2001 ice storm either, where everything is just shut down for 2 weeks about. I mean, I remember all the radio stations being off the air because here in Arkansas, we don't think that we need heaters on the antennas, so they don't have them. And they didn't think they would freeze up, and they did. And because they did, that's why you couldn't listen to your favorite country music, your favorite talk show or anything for about 2 weeks. It's because of that. All right, so I want to go back to talk a little bit more about what you're speaking about. We've seen the West in the past, in history, try to get along with the Muslim nations, and it really hasn't fared all that well.
It's impossible.
Okay, so with that in mind, what do you see from the United States now? What do you think that they're going to do with Israel? I mean, I can't see us not backing them because we know how important they are in that region. But still, Enrico and Justin and I were all talking about that. You know, Enrico and Justin from the Jewish Federation, that Netanyahu, he's got to take care of Hezbollah. He can't let Hezbollah be right on the Israeli border. That's not possible.
No. First, let me say the greatest single threat to the United States of America is the left, and this is not a Democrat, kind of Republican, talking point. The socialist Marxists have taken over the Democratic Party.
Yeah, they have.
There's
no doubt about that.
To take down the United States of America. And they have made an alliance. Some people call it the Red-Green Alliance between the Democrats and the Islamic people. And they are actively trying to take down this country. And I've listened to this one guy who's a former CIA analyst, and he said Trump needs to stop what we're doing and get back and focus and really do a better job articulating how dangerous and how much of a threat the left is to this country. They want to bring it down. Why that AOC, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, these people are not in jail when they openly advocate for a political system that is contrary to the Constitution that they swore to uphold? I do not understand that. They are trying to take down the constitutional republic. They are doing it. And they're very successful at what they're doing right now.
Yeah, in certain areas on the East Coast, they're succeeding.
Yeah, the East and the West Coast for sure. And I think that, going back to your question, is part of the reason why we could be in a position where we're not going to help Israel. The book of Zechariah says that in the last days that Jerusalem would be a cup of trembling and a heavy burden for all nations, and all of those who seek to come against it and to destroy it, that it would crush them. And when it says that all the nations that are going to come against Israel, we joke, and I know this is going to sound funny to people, when your Bible says all,
it means all.
Well, no, it actually doesn't. It doesn't. All doesn't always mean all.
Okay.
And it could literally mean all of those who are involved. And so we don't know if all means all here. And it can, if you go and look it up, it actually means all, some, all or some. But that sometimes the Bible uses hyperbolic language to make a point. Basically, like when we say everybody and their brother, well, it's not everybody. It's just a strong term that means a lot of people.
The majority.
Right. And so did when the writers wrote that, would it be properly translated that the majority of the world is going to come against Israel? We don't know. But if all means all, and Israel is going to be standing alone, then that means, one, America is going to turn. If the left takes control of this nation, that will happen overnight. They will turn. The American people will turn, or that we are just not going to be in a position to help because of financially or whatever the case is, because we have forgotten. We don't even talk about debt anymore. We don't talk about how any nation that has ever achieved this level of gross GDP to debt ratio has never recovered from it. That has never happened in all of history. And if we keep spending, there will come a time where we will have to answer the mail. And what that looks like, we don't know. But if we use history as our guide, That means his nation is going to collapse under its own financial weight.
Yeah, well, it's true. I don't see how we can't. I mean, we're $40 trillion in debt.
Right. But it's possible that maybe something, and some people will talk about this whole digital stuff and all that, and they could right the wrong. And then, I mean, it wouldn't help our situation, but it's quite possible that you have to do an extreme thing, and you basically tell everybody that we ever borrowed money from, including the citizens of this country, that you go, sorry, we're not paying it back. And then you just go, we're going to write the slate clean. And obviously that would still be catastrophic in of itself. But either way, we don't know how all that's going to play out, whether it's going to be financially that we cannot be in a position. And I think that it's very easily you could see a pushback from the world, because the world is getting tired of us telling them what to do. And then we go, oh, yeah, you're not going to do what we want. Okay, we're going to withhold money, or we're going to, tariff this or tariff that. And I could see a place come about where the world just goes, we're done with America, when they can. Right now, they still need us. But if there's ever a time that we can't leverage financially or militarily, I don't know what could bring that about. But I'm hoping, as we were talking about off air, that that what is happening with Israel and America right now is a strategic move to make it look like that we are at odds, because the left has always hated Israel, but the right and the people on the right have turned in a we call the extreme right, and people like what I now call Tucker Carlson, and then Propagandist Owens, and some of the Megyn Kelly and others. They are actively trying to undermine it, and they are putting out a bunch of lies. And I really wish more data would come out about where their funding comes from, because I think they're just money prostitutes. I think that they don't really care about the country. They don't care about conservative values. And they have believed the lies that Israel has committed a genocide in Gaza and all this other kind of stuff. And I think that they are actively trying to undermine the country, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah, it's the way that the world views Israel has always been negatively. I mean, even when the UN granted Israel, back in 1948, statehood, it wasn't done happily.
No.
At all. And it came down to one vote.
Truman.
Yeah.
And he saw himself as Cyrus. Cyrus was the one in the Bible that Isaiah prophesied about. And Cyrus was the one who told the Jews that they could go back to the land after the Babylonian exile. And because he was a Christian man, and because he read his Bible, he saw himself as the guy that was going to be the modern Cyrus that was going to get the people back from their exile. Absolutely. And Nixon. The
I want to let you know he was trying to think of Nixon, and he put his fingers up and did air quotes in the air. That's Richard Nixon,
right? I am. By the way, I wasn't joking when I sent you that thing. I was actually in Dallas when I was out of town. When you asked where I was at, and I said I was on the 6th floor at the Book Depository building.
That's where you were.
Yeah,
huh?
We were literally there, and
That's
I was making my way to the grassy knoll. Like literally, we were there doing a tour of all. That's the first time I've ever seen it. But anyway. And
didn't realize there was so much room there in the grassy knoll, did you?
No, and I also didn't realize how close and small that area was.
Yeah, it's all close.
When you watch the videos, you think this thing's like hundreds of yards or 100 yards. No, and when you stand in the window where I was at and looking down at where he took the first shot, it was like a 60-yard shot.
Yeah, because you can see the X on the ground.
Yeah. And I was just like, this was close. And when people say things like that they saw somebody or heard something from the grass, there's no way they did not see it. He was only 50 yards away.
Yeah.
That supposed last shot that came from that area was no more than 60 or 70 yards away.
From the front.
Yeah, from the front. Yeah. And there was a guy down there trying to sell his book.
I'm sure.
Yeah. But anyhow, where were we?
It may have been 60 years ago, but people are still debating it.
Oh, yeah. But I was just surprised how small and tight that area was. But anyway, back to the propaganda stuff and all that is happening. And I before all of this transpired, and I would say to Billy or Scott or somebody, and I would just say, all throughout history, if you go back and look at the history of wherever the Jewish people have gone, whenever something has transpired in a negative way, they always blame the Jews.
Oh, yeah.
And they were blamed the bubonic plague. They were blamed for the financial situation and claimed that they had too much political influence, which is what led to the Spanish Inquisition. It led to the Russian pogroms, obviously led to what happened in Nazi Germany. And I said that there's going to come a time in the future one day that the world will say, if it wasn't for those Jews in that area, again, if it wasn't for the Jews,
we'd have peace.
We'd have peace. And you're already hearing that now. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for Israel, if Israel wasn't there, we wouldn't have any problems. And when it started to happen, and we're listening to all this, and I said to Billy, I said, you and I've been saying this for years. I said, but it's kind of weird to watch it happen now, that it's happening on a regular basis. The same lies, the same kind of propaganda, that they control the banks, they control Trump and all this other kind of stuff.
If you look at what's happening now, you would swear to God it's 1939.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. And that's in a broader sense, not just because of the foundation for the Holocaust, but what the foundation for World War II, and that all of these global skirmishes, or in that case, in that region and in Japan and whatnot, that that's happening. And there's so many things happening in the world right now, and a lot of other just smaller nations that it can't catch up with the news cycles, or they go, hey, we got too much other stuff to talk about those other things.
So you don't hear as much about Africa,
right? And well, since you brought that up, there is well, it's the part that the president or the vice president or anybody else has not done a good enough job about how important Afghanistan and Africa is. Because one of the reasons that our supply chains are running short is because of the rare earths.
Yep.
And we do not have enough. And because of all of the tree hugging liberals that go, hey, you need to understand that these things are a requirement, not just for military purposes, but AI or anything else that runs our society. And if we don't go and dig those things out or make alliances with the different African nations and all that stuff, we're not going to have the stuff we need to keep our society going.
And the only reason that the Chinese are being able to do it is because, believe it or not, they're building roads.
Yeah.
And the people in Africa are happy to get some roads over there.
Yep.
And
they're building coal plants like you wouldn't believe.
Yes, they are. All right, it's 7:49. We got to get a break in. We'll be back with the final segment of our Monday edition of the Bible Guys. Steve Hess sitting in for everybody today here on the Dave Ellswick Show. 8 minutes until 8 o'clock. If you got to be at work at 8 o'clock, you might want to step on it a little bit just so you can get there on time. We're expecting rain throughout today. Heavy rain at times and high winds. Even might have some hail in various areas. Just know that it's not going to be pouring down rain all day, but when it does pour down rain, it will be biblical when it rains. Just know it's going to be a lot of water out there on the road. We've got Steve Hess with us today from the Bible Guys. Billy is sick. Scott is doing Vacation Bible School with kids. So he's got his hands totally filled right now when you get that many kids in one small area. I drove by New Life last night in Cabot on 89, and that parking lot at 4:30 was packed. I mean, packed. And I was looking over by the side of the building where the child care and things are at, and they had climbing walls and all kinds of stuff. It was the last night for their summer Bible school. So we'll probably get some really good reports coming up Sunday about what went down. All right, so as you're sitting here, Steve, as I always tell people, I think no matter whether you're post-trib, pre-trib, or whatever it is, just about everybody says that things are going to get worse, although within part of the community of, I'm trying to think, not Protestants, the speaking in tongues and things in that nature.
You mean like charismatic?
The Pentecostals. Yeah. There's a group of Pentecostals that believe the object is to get as many people saved so that the culture will be saved. I don't see us ever being able to save the culture. At least the Bible doesn't tell me you can save the culture.
We've had pockets, the first and second great awakenings in this country, and it's possible that a third great awakening has to happen. But here's the difference. We had preachers back then that were preaching and calling for repentance. They were calling for holiness. And we don't have that many preachers that are doing that. Most of the preachers that you hear today can sometimes be self-serving. They tend to be grandiose.
Sometimes?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to be kind.
Yeah.
And we've made church more of an entertainment platform instead of teaching the Word of God. We forget that John the Baptist's message was repent. Jesus' message was repent. And we don't hear that call anymore. What we hear is the call to believe. Well, James says that the devil believes, and even the devil trembles.
Believes, yeah.
Right. But believe must require transformation. And in Hebrew, if you do not do something, then you don't believe it. If you say that I'm a Christian, but you do not pray, you do not read the Bible, you do not go to church, you do not live a moral and righteous life, the best that you can. We're all going to stumble, fall short from time to time. We're going to have struggles. Paul talks about the wrestling of the mind, and you're going to have that. But if you think that you can continue to live in an open, sinful lifestyle while saying that I'm a Christian, then you do not believe. And Jesus never said to go make believers. He said go make disciples. And the disciple is a student, one who learns and then does what they have been taught. And we have to change the mentality in most of the church. And preachers need to quit trying to build empires. They need to quit trying to build the biggest church because it's the Donald Trump world, it's America. If the bigger it is, the better it is. It must be the smartest. They must be the most theologically sound. And it's completely the opposite. The most theological sound person in the first century was Jesus. He had 12 apostles. That's it. And I mean, there were 70 and some other stuff like that, but it wasn't the guys at the temple. And so until we get back to that mentality, you cannot change the culture until you really get back to a sound biblical foundation and not the entertainment culture that is what has overtaken a lot of the church world today.
Yeah, within the church today, and we've got 1 minute here, we've got people who believe you do whatever you can do by basically counterfeiting yourself to the world to get people to want to become part of your vision of Christianity.
Yeah, that's the other part, that people think that I say it this way. People say, hey, we're all sinners. We're all broken. Let's just all come be broken in here together. That's not the gospel message. It is that you are transformed. The old things have passed away. Behold, the old things have become new. And so it's not that we're all broken. You should be different. The people that you work with, that you run in when you're walking up and down the street, if your conduct, if your speech, if your life, if your family is not different than the culture, then you have to reevaluate whether or not you're a believer. And it's not that let's all show them that we're all real and we're all sinners too. No, that's not the message. Should not.
When the water is in the ark, you may not be in the ark.
That's right.
I mean, it's just the way it goes, because the water was kept out of the ark because of the ark.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming in.
To be different. Absolutely. Glad I'm able to do it.
You give everybody something to think about today. That's for sure.
Well, I tend to do that.
Yeah, that's good. I appreciate it.
I'm moving to nights starting next week, so I should be here.
Okay, good. We'll be.
I've been on the morning shift for the last several weeks. That's why I've been out missing so much.
Well, that's all right. I didn't.
Not for me. I don't like getting up at 3 in the morning.
You can ask anybody here. I didn't dock his pay. It's a couple of minutes till 8. Let's take our break and get to the news. Then we'll be back with the power panel. Wayne's here. I know that I looked out there and I see the wild man is standing out there, our Old Testament prophet, Paul. And I don't know, is Chris going to be here today? Val, have you talked to him? Is Chris coming? You don't know? Okay. We don't know. It may be 2, but it may be 3 of the power panel here in just a few moments on the Dave Ellswick Show. All right. Into the second hour we go. And Paul is here. He brought in the newest addition to the family for a few minutes. And I still got it, man. He was just smiling at me and laughing. We were having a good time here in the studio. Wayne Beach is here. He's also joined us now. We have not been joined by our third party. I think he's out today. But hey, what can I say? 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Somebody else said that one time. It was, Meatloaf. Yeah, made that statement to us. All right, good to have you along with us for the round. I hope you heard that first hour. If you didn't, make sure you go back and listen to the Dave Ellswick Show. We're on every platform, and I'm really not making that up. We're up every platform. YouTube, Facebook, everything. Yeah, Rumble, you name it, we're there. And that's why we have, within a couple of weeks of doing the show, over 100,000 clicks on the show. People are watching and listening it. People who are in all blue states are listening to find out what are they doing in Arkansas that's different from us, because we don't have any money left over after the heads of the blue states get over. Did you see what state in the union is the best tax state? I'm talking about you're paying fewer taxes out of your paycheck and out of things that you buy. Did you see the state that's number one?
Is it Alaska?
It's not Alaska.
Not Alaska.
It's not Florida. It's not California. It's not Texas.
Not Idaho.
No, it's North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yeah, North Dakota has the best tax structure, and it's because they're the kind of the last boy joining the energy onslaught. I mean, there's a lot of energy up there in North Dakota. They
don't have much population either.
No, it's you're lucky when you look at Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, to a majority of it, Montana. You're looking at states really that, if they had to meet all the requirements of statehood, would not be states right now. Wyoming would still be a territory
because the population's so
600,000.
So you're saying they hadn't been contaminated yet?
Well, it shows in how well they're doing with their their money.
So one of the benefits of that is that when you've got a pretty big land mass and a relatively low population, you can't tax them a whole lot because they'll leave, and it's just way too expensive. So the government can't grow very big.
Let me tell you, they'd leave North Dakota in a heartbeat if it wasn't for the taxes.
Yeah, the taxes were lower. Or the taxes were
higher.
Right. And so
they wouldn't stick around.
But that's a lot of people. They want the government to be like a country club or a apartment complex.
They want to be like mommy and daddy.
Right. And so they want them to buy them a pool. They want them to have other entertainment,
pay for my education.
Right.
They want them to be your daddy.
12.
Right. And
16, 18 years they want them to pay for
right. Yeah. You've got the Democrats that now what are they're proposing pre-K and probably even babysitting services and whatever else. Is like, okay, so at what point are the government's going to offer a TEAT too by the time they're just after they're born? What's the cutoff? They're just going to go ahead and take the kids right as soon as they're born, put them in some concentration camp to grow them up into good little brown shirts?
They're already doing that. It's called public schooling.
Eventually, I can't think of some
we can print money.
Well, that's different.
We haven't printed money in a long time. It's just moving a decimal point on a computer screen.
It's digital stuff now, right? But that's the reality, though, is that I think that's one of the only reasons why we're so prosperous right now is because we print money to give ourselves socialism.
And that's the thing is that we have there's two different things here. The government is different than the general population because the government actually is a producer of money. They actually produce the money. We are users of the money, and that's a big difference.
Give me more, so I can use it more.
And we export tons and tons of our dollars, which we exchange for goods that are valuable to us, but it's still kind of a fraud that we're committing on the world. Of course, the rest of the world is doing the same thing to a great extent.
But whenever the rest of the world was fixing to go to the yang, or whatever the monetary is, different
China.
monetary system rather than the dollar system. The U.S. dollar has always been
the gold standard.
I think that Trump has actually gone in and he's actually changed that paradigm and said, we're not going to another. We're going to keep the dollar going.
Well, he is here.
And the way you keep that dollar going is you have to control the energy. You have to control the oil.
And what we need to do, and we're going to kind of get off in the weeds here a little bit, and I like that. But the thing is that we need a dollar.
I don't like getting off in the weeds. Just where the trigger is on.
We need a currency that is actually based on real stuff. I'd be good with it being gold, or I'd be good with it being oil, gasoline, diesel. It could be peanut butter for all I care. But it needs to be something other than just the full faith and credit of the U.S. government that lies to us all the time.
I think Steve from the previous show brought up a good point. Is that right now it's oil is a major factor, is based driving the narratives and things, and driving the economy. But I think that you're fixing to see a changeover into the rare earth minerals, the lithium, just like we have here.
We're seeing a big change too. Trump is truly trying to put gold back into the driver's seat.
Right.
That depending on how much money you got is how much gold you have.
It may be the reality, but I think the notion that oil, or in this case, rare earth minerals for making batteries, the reality is that you're familiar with the book Wealth of Nations.
Yeah.
You know what the wealth is, right? It's labor. It's the labor of man. Well, we've modified that a little bit with energy. We use electricity, we use diesel, we use gasoline powered engines, and we use lithium batteries that provide energy power for us to do work. How many people actually do very much work with their physical hands and their physical bodies? Some of us still do some, but most of the work we do is powered through some type of other means, whether it's electricity or diesel fuel or gasoline or lithium batteries that are charged with natural gas or coal or whatever it is. And so we're doing the things we're doing with something other than manual labor, but we're still putting our manual labor with that and making it valuable. And to base a currency off
they're
of that
getting away from it being valuable with the advent of AI.
Oh yeah, it really is. But it's still the labor of man.
Somebody's got to clean the stall.
Right. Somebody's got to do that. But we're still putting our labor with stuff to make these AI robots or these AI computer systems to relieve ourselves of some of the burdens of life. And we've been doing that basically since the world began. We figured out, you know what? You don't have to chew that hunk of meat off with your teeth. You can take a rock, sharpen it up, and cut it off. It's easier to stick down your gullet.
What I first would want to do is define what labor is. Is it sitting behind a desk?
Can be.
Is it sitting behind a desk? And you need to understand what labor is and what value of that labor is.
Oftentimes sitting behind a desk is the most valuable labor there is.
What's that?
Sometimes sitting behind a desk is some of the most valuable labor there is.
Right. But what happens is that it's kind of like my brother-in-law told me one time, is if you don't use your head every once in a while, you might as well just have two rear ends. So
two exits, huh?
Yeah, two exits.
How would you define that labor from behind?
Well, I would think how did it first start out at? If you basically replace the mental labor that you have with things like AI, what happens then? Do you actually somebody's still got to
program
fight? I mean,
somebody's still got to program until AI becomes self-sufficient.
Right. And AI,
when that happens, all bets are off.
That's right. And it's learning from what we tell them. It's just like any human is learning the best route, the path of least resistance. It's learning what's the greatest return on investment? What's the cost benefit analysis?
And Sarah and I were listening to something or reading something just recently about an AI robot that they've been training to do surgery, and it did it. I think it was doing it on a pig, but it was actually doing things successfully.
But not without a human. It won't do it without a human. You'll never in healthcare, because you can't sue an AI robot. You can sue a human.
That may be true.
And they're not going to be sued, because the robot won't be the one being sued. It will be the human.
True, but when you start looking at, just like with the AI cars, with the self-driving cars, when you start looking at the success rates with them compared to the humans, and you look at it like, do I want an AI robot to perform this appendectomy, to take my appendix out, that has a failure rate of like 0.01%?
That's not what I'm talking about.
Or do I want the man who maybe is going through a divorce?
I'm talking about there'll always be an overview, an overlord, if you will, a person.
Yes. Hopefully, yes. And that's the robots need to have that. If we give them full autonomy, I think that's moronic. But the reality is, we may be able to train robots and AI systems to go out and mine iron ore and make steel, and we never touch it until it becomes this set screw that holds the microphone in place.
I mean, we have robots that do that now. We have robots that go on and disarm bombs by themselves. I mean, they have a remote control robot.
It's not
human.
Autonomous. It's just.
But I mean, you'll always, everyone that I talk to about AI, from in DC, from in healthcare, wherever I talk about, they all say the same thing that I say. You won't have it. It's not going to replace humans. It's going to replace humans that don't know how to use it.
Right. No, the thing is, it can replace labor, which I think we've done with lots of technology over the years. Is that, you know what? I've got a well pump that pumps water for me at my house. That has saved an awful lot of labor over pulling water out of the ground with a well bucket. That's an awesome labor saving device, and I think this is just another progression.
What do you think people said when that first came out? I'm not using that.
Maybe
it'll poison my water.
Right. So I think my uncles like to tell a story about I guess it was their uncle, or maybe their great uncle, that wouldn't use power tools when they were coming out. He would use a handsaw to build with, do construction work.
So was he Amish?
Right.
No, he was
no electricity.
Well, I mean, it was like 50, 60 years ago, and he was old at the time, I think. And so he was strong, and he was used to using hand tools, and it just was awkward for him to use power tools. And so he
didn't want to spend the time learning.
I think
that was my thought.
That may have been it. Is that I mean, there's new technology out there, but you've got old timers that are good with the old technology, and it will take them time to learn the new technology, and they just don't want to do it. And that's okay. It's just that they may be far less productive
and not have a job.
They might, yeah. Just like the guy who learned to drive mules. He can't compete with the trucks.
I use a lot of AI and automations myself, actually. And I think what you'd find is that not using AI to mine iron ore, obviously, but what they use AI for is to mine data. Mm-hmm. That's what they're getting from that. And it's doing it constantly round the clock, and it's doing it better than humans could. And they use that data for a ton of things like marketing and influencing elections and influencing voting. And how do you But
again, you got to check the data, because it's not always right.
Well, sure.
For now. And that's the thing, is that AI is learning the whole time. Mm-hmm. It takes what things that are right now and things that are wrong right now, and it will determine which way is the right way.
And that's part of the problem, is that when you've got corrupt people that are teaching AI, or the AI is just watching corrupt people, they'll learn how to make arguments that are convincing. Like, if you let AI watch a whole bunch of speeches that are very convincing and effective speeches, a lot of those speeches are not based on truth. A lot of them use lies or obfuscation. So if AI learns to communicate in that way, that's insane. And they learn to manipulate people.
All right. It's 20 minutes after 8. Sorry to rein you in, but we'll pull on your bit a little bit and take a break, and then we'll be back with more 821 on a Monday morning on the Dave Ellswick Show. All right, we're back with you. Wayne was sitting here talking and talking about. I was mentioning the movie Minority Report. I watch a lot of sci-fi. I mean, science fiction to me is nothing more than future science fact. When you look at Star Trek, all right, when's the last time you saw somebody in Star Trek pull a dollar bill out of their wallet? Roddenberry knew that money as we knew it was going the way of the dodo bird.
Well, and the problem is that yeah, so you can write a fictional story and make it functional, but in the real world, when you have full blown socialism where everybody's needs are taken care of and each from each according to his ability to each according to his need, it works great in a fictional story, but in real life it just doesn't.
Yeah,
because the reality is that profit motive is a good motivation.
Oh yeah,
and if you don't have that, yeah, and so that's it's kind of neat to watch it.
There's a small minority right now. I'm going to say they're small. It might be bigger than what I think it is, but I'm watching just here in the United States, looking at local elections that are going on, and how the socialists are lapping up the local elections left and right. May not be doing it nationally, but they are doing it, regionally.
Well, the softcore socialists have been going at it aggressively, and they've been very successful for 2-3 decades now or more, depending on where you're looking, how you're looking at it. Because a lot of Republicans have embraced a lot of socialism. Look at Obamacare here in Arkansas. But the hardcore socialists, like the Mamdani in New York City type folks, they're starting to get a foothold too. But I think it's just a rational progression from where we've been for the last 30 or 40 years.
I won't say it's a rational progression. I'll say it's a progression, but there's not a lot of rationality behind it.
Well, but if you're covetous and you want other people's stuff for free and you want the government to steal for you, it's rational. It's immoral.
They don't look at it as stealing.
Well, they don't, but that doesn't. I mean,
that's what's really important.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see the difference between walking next door because my neighbor has 3 86-inch flat screen TVs, and I don't have, my biggest is only 50, which is not true. I got an 86, but if you had you want one of those, what's the difference between going over, taking one off of his wall and coming and hanging it up in your house versus
voting
the ability to have an 86-inch flat screen in a chicken in every pot?
The difference is that if you do it yourself right now, your neighbor has the right to defend himself. If you vote for it and the government does it for you, if your neighbor defends himself, he'll get murdered. He'll get murdered by the government.
No, he may get murdered by you.
He might. You might murder him but a lot of times though. But at least if he fights back against you for doing it.
But I'm just trying to say.
I agree.
I'm taking you back to 1960s. Star Trek shows up on television, and they're showing a cashless society. What are we talking about now, in the present? But a cashless society. There are companies now, there are businesses that won't take your dollars. They want your debit card.
There's governments.
They don't want your cash.
So you go up to Greers Ferry Lake right now. You can't get in the park without digital money. They won't take cash. So if you want to go to Greers Ferry Lake, the dam site swimming area there, they won't take cash to get in the park.
You proved my point.
Yeah. I mean, the government won't take your cash.
And at all events, it's the same way. All of your baseball games and all of your stadiums and all those places no cash whatsoever.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's to reduce theft. I mean,
otherwise you can
track it better.
You're a big target for like major robberies because you've got a big,
or even just inside. I mean,
inside too,
sticking money in their pocket.
You don't want to be Ocean's 10. All right.
Yeah.
But that is a reality though. I mean, so years ago, I was talking to a guy that was doing rental property, and when you've got an apartment complex with 100 or 200 or 300 units, and around the first of the month, lots of people come in and pay you cash.
Right.
You could have many tens of thousands of dollars
Right.
in the building
Right.
on those 8 or 10 days around the first of the month.
By the way, have you noticed that you go to some fast food places now, and they're going to round you off to the nearest nickel, all right? And
They won't give you pennies.
And they're always going up. They never round down.
Right.
They always round
Well, they
up.
stopped making pennies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. We don't like pennies. We don't want pennies.
You'd be surprised at people that have those little cards that you have at Walmart or something like that, or Home Depot, and they take that gift card or whatever up there, and there's a small amount on there. Every single of those cards, if you don't keep track to every penny of it, they
absorb it.
They absorb it, and then that basically adds to the profit.
I think Visa was the first one to do that. If you didn't use their card within 3 years, they take it back.
Well, and so I think I've read or heard that about 80% or about 20% of gift cards don't get used, and so it's a great deal for businesses to sell gift cards.
All right, let's go to the news. It's coming up right here on the Dave Ellswick Show.
Well,
Now we got the first hour of the first half hour of the 8 o'clock hour done. We got about a half hour left here, but I'm just saying, and I know people get tired of me talking about this, but when you look at science fiction, there's no monetary anything. Everybody is cashless, and that's the way it works. Whenever they're, I think it's San Francisco. That's the place where the Starfleet is at. And everybody wears a different color uniform denoting what they do. I mean, all that socialist things that we talk about now was being programmed into your brain back in the 60s, probably before then, to be honest.
What's crazy though is that it was supposed to be like blacklist the communists. You know what I mean? Back then, like the Cold War and all of that. And then how did this sneak in there? How did Star Trek sneak in?
That's Ray Roddenberry,
Gene.
Roddenberry is the one who got everybody thinking that way. I mean, whenever you want something to eat, you don't go to a restaurant and sit down and get something to eat. There is a machine that constructs out of the molecular material in the air the food that you want, and it tastes better than anything that any human chef could ever make. It looks like they've got the old sandwich mat there that they had back in the 50s when you'd walk in and put your coins up in the slot, open the little door and pull a piece of pie out. But they're making it right there in front of you.
You never see anybody over the coughing on those shows, like they got a cold or allergies or anything like that. That's
because they just run that little tricorder over you, and it tells you everything that's wrong with you.
They've just taken all the vaccines, so it cured them.
Or it's a genetic thing.
Well, I will say that I believe that it was about individual freedom was a core theme in Star Trek, though. It wasn't completely communism. It was more like post-apocalyptic,
try not to do what Starfleet told you to do.
Yeah.
And what happened to you? They wiped you out.
That's true.
You were like a virus. They got rid of you. It's all part of it. I mean, we've been being brainwashed about this stuff and not even knowing it for like ever. It's been going on.
Well, yeah, so you immerse children in public school. You give them all this media that encourages the socialism. And so what do you expect when they're 25 years old and they've been started off in in kindergarten, immersed in public school or in socialism, and then they've gone on into college where they ramp up the effort to really promote the socialism and communist ideas, and then all of a sudden they're 23, 24, 25 years old, and they're ready to vote for Bernie Sanders for president.
I went to college though, and I wasn't ramped up.
You were in the final round before they got into it.
I mean, I was a Democrat though whenever I was in college, and I was surrounded by Republicans in Jonesboro at Arkansas State, and I would fight them. I was the one that was the young liberal. They called young Hillary, you know. I hated Bush. That's when I was in college.
That's back when Democrats were different.
Well, that's true, but I didn't recall. But now, like, teachers your professors in college are not supposed to tell you who to vote for. And mine would, like, I'm not telling you who I'm voting for. I'll let you should make your own decision based on what we've learned in class, you know, like things of that nature. I think now it's.
Yeah, what were they telling you about in class? That's the key.
Yeah. I mean, nothing that I found that was liberal because I would argue with them. But that was then. Again, that was 20 years ago. ASU.
Yeah, but Arkansas 20 years ago was, I mean, Democrats were probably more conservative than a lot of Republicans 20 or 25 years ago. And so that's Arkansas is probably not a very good representation. I mean, if you'd have been San Francisco 20 years ago or 25 years ago, that would have been, that might have.
Here's all I know. All right. In the late 60s liberal. And the early 70s, when I was finishing up high school and beginning my collegiate career, Berkeley was the home of free speech. That's where they were. That was ground zero for the argument about the First Amendment and being able to say what you thought. It is now not.
It's the opposite.
It is absolutely the opposite. And that's why I always say on the air, I've been fighting for free speech since I can remember. And I've changed parties. And at one time, the Democrats didn't believe in free speech. And then they did believe in free speech. And then they don't believe in free speech anymore. They keep changing the vernacular.
Speech is violence. You know,
yeah, that's exactly right. Speech isn't just speech.
Sarah and I were listening to something on the way up here about some girl, I think, over in France, who had, I think she might have been raped by one of these immigrants over there that maybe came from Africa or maybe a Muslim. I'm not sure which. And she spoke out, and she was speaking out about the problem of those African and Muslim immigrants that were just making it such a dangerous place to live, apparently. And she was prosecuted for it. I think she was convicted for it, for speech,
hate speech,
for her hate speech or whatever it was. And but
in Canada, there are pastors who have been arrested while in the pulpit speaking out against homosexuality. And that's hate speech.
So how did we help the world? I mean, maybe we should have let Germany have some of these countries for a little while to beat them up pretty good, and then take over Germany. But so how do we save these people from the Nazis just so they could become Nazis themselves?
Well, Paul, it's like I've said before. When you import the third world, you become the third world. And that's what's happened. That's what's happened in Europe.
Well,
now.
I think part of the issue is that you have a very boneheaded ideology about personal responsibility, and so you've got someone out here who's murdering and stealing from people, and you don't hold them accountable appropriately, so it just goes to hell in a handbasket because we don't hold people accountable effectively in a meaningful way that's just. We don't do that here in America either.
But if you say something that somebody doesn't agree with, you know, you're doing this free speech thing. The perspective of that person that's trying to block your speech is how's he defined accountable? Are you accountable to his thoughts? Or are you accountable to your thoughts?
And it needs to be accountable for his actions. And the thing is that you don't get to commit assault and battery because someone said something that hurt your feelings.
Yes, but I mean, if you look at some religions or even some ideologies, they think that
Sure.
they're doing the right thing. They think that
right, because
you're
you
being
committed an
held
act of
accountable.
violence because you didn't worship them in some way.
Or what is
at
it
the state
where
capitol
they
here a while
can
back.
beat their daughter or
And-
whatever?
And
like,
I was
what is that called? Like
Mercy
Well, they
killing.
think
Yes,
that
mercy,
humans
like-
are personal property. a lot of
Yeah.
times. And that's
or they've
what-
embarrassed the family so they can stone them in the
It's,
street.
it's similar to what they had during the slave days, is that they believed that slaves were personal property. They were held just like livestock, and they were used as bad as it was. They were used
Early on in slavery, a lot of people think they were looking at the teeth.
Mhm.
They weren't. They were looking inside the lip for a number that identified that they were a
tattoo.
slave and they were owned by somebody.
That's what's happening in Afghanistan and places like that right now with the Muslims.
And they still have slavery throughout the world. There's still slavery being used right now.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't realize that it is. They when they see it, they recognize it.
Well, the best show I've watched recently that tackles the issue of the individual versus the collective was Yellowstone. That's what Yellowstone is about from beginning to end. I mean, Dutton is an individualist. I built this ranch. I've made this ranch. And then everybody else wants the
They want to
ranch
take it and put
for
it
everybody else.
Yeah, they want to turn it into an airport and casinos
Yeah.
and everything else like that.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that and that's probably a disappearing part is the individualism is probably starting
The
to.
rugged individualism that we were always known about is a far, far past idea.
well, and that's the thing is that liberty and justice is about the individual, not the collective. If you decide that the collective is more important than the individual because the collective has certain rights that the individual can never have, then you've just abolished human rights.
And now you're talking about way probably the Native American probably thought when we first came over here. Said, wait a minute, we've done this. We've been here. This is our land.
Well, but they weren't there forever. See, that's my argument about the Native Americans is that they themselves fought between tribes over property. So it's not like it was a foreign thought to them. The thought to them was that the white man was a tsunami and it was washing away their culture. That's the reason.
Well, and I think that, so I don't know what the population in continental America was when white men came, but I suspect it was very, very sparse.
Yeah.
And so you might have had nomadic Indian tribes that would move around the country
and take what they needed.
Right. And so they would be hunter-gatherers, and so they would travel around. And so
no, they were that period of history's colonialists.
But they weren't that sophisticated, though. They were still in the Stone Age.
They were still sophisticated.
Excuse me, Cherokee was the most civilized of the nations. We even had a constitution that helped create the Constitution that we have now in the United States. Most people aren't taught that in college or school.
It doesn't matter, though, is what I'm trying to say, Val. They were doing things that other tribes were assimilated by the stronger tribes. That's been going on forever.
And then
it happens here.
And then the religious ideologies is who had the biggest God or who had the strongest God. If you look about their tribalism over in the Middle East and that whole area in there, says just like it became thing. I remember the Western civilization class, the classes I were taking in college. They were the most interesting because you actually saw how religion started, how it all started from way back during when you had tribes that just wandered everywhere.
When the monkeys were breaking up the bone before it was thrown up in the air and became a spaceship.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. Spaceship, that 2001 Space Odyssey. Yeah.
What they said in the first 5 minutes of that movie was groundbreaking. It really was groundbreaking.
Well, he got all the way back to the chimpanzee or the ape.
What they would have said was the Neanderthal, which we found out was a lot smarter than a lot of people thought that they were. It's interesting to look at it. Bottom line is that man is flawed, and he will always screw it up.
Well, he does.
Always.
But it always goes back. He eventually destroyed man, and all the way back into the Stone Age, all the way back to the ape thing, where he's fighting with a hip bone or something like that.
Yep.
With a thigh bone or something.
Brontosaurus.
That's what happened in 2001. The monkeys would meet at the watering hole and try to scare each other away, and one of them happened to pick up a bone and beat the living crap and killed one of the other.
Then it started.
And
animal instinct.
They were over at that point. They took over from the ones that didn't understand that you could beat somebody to death with a bone.
And civility was lost.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was.
And that's kind of the difference between man and animals, is that there's a lot of animals out there that make tools or use tools and to better their lives. Men use tools, but men also make tools. And I don't think you'll find any animal in the world that makes tools with other tools.
I don't know.
And so, but
I'm not an anthropologist.
But that's just one of the.
I'm a science fiction.
One of the major differences is that man develops complex tools and items to work with, and so we can take on whales in the ocean that are 100 times our size or 1,000 times our size, and we're the apex predator in spite of the fact that we don't have fangs.
But when our tools actually end up destroying us,
well, they do that
what
too.
Do you do? For instance, you have the nuclear bomb drain. You have tools out there.
And it's not good enough that you can kill 100,000 people with one. We want to be able to drop one bomb on a city and do away with the whole city.
That's right. You have tools that we want to restrict our tools. Some people want to restrict the tools that we have because they're especially destructive ones.
Yeah.
But they also want to. You also have the other side of the thing where somebody wants to invent better tools so they can become stronger than the other individual.
That's always the object. Yeah. What were you going to say?
No, so we still focus on that physical altercation so much, like the bombs and so forth. But I think the biggest tools that they're using against us are our culture and our minds, right? So
we've done more damage to ourselves from a social standpoint, and intellectual standpoint.
No question. But people realize that we're weak in that area, and that's where they're exploiting us. So like the gray warfare that you hear people talking about, that's where they're really getting in on us. Where the poisons that are coming in between the drugs and because our society lets that happen, and it's to some extent acceptable, right? Bringing the fentanyl in and the alcohol and the porn and all the things that get in our mind that keep us from being productive, right? Or influence the things that we do or don't do.
Lift us up.
Yeah, that things that influence what we do or don't do.
Even video games, while they may seem rather harmless, the utter waste of time when you've got 30-year-old males,
50-year-old males,
spending 40 or 50 hours a week playing video games. That's
tons of time.
Incredibly destructive,
right?
Just from a reverse standpoint of they're not being productive,
right?
That's like burning several houses down every year, maybe,
right?
All right, 9 minutes still. We got to get our final break in. Good discussion this morning here on the Dave Ellswick Show. Segment of the Dave Ellswick Show for a Monday tomorrow. I can't tell you who's going to be in because we know it won't be Ryan Norris because he will not be available tomorrow. I don't know who we'll have. I'll try to be listening for my promo, and we'll talk about it. Or we might just do a complete news dump and because things are changing every 20 minutes, it seems like.
There's nothing going on about what we talk about, is there?
And what does it mean now that Starmer is stepping down as prime minister in Britain, and the one of the main reasons he stepped down is because of the overtaking of the Muslim hordes, as people are now saying, over in England, and they're starting to say that in other places too, Germany, France, a lot of people are saying, hey, wait, a lot of that Western civilization that we believe in that sets us apart, suddenly we're giving it all up.
And that's part of the problem, is recognizing that there are philosophical problems with some of these societies that are just morally bankrupt and socially bankrupt, and they're just going to hurt you.
By our thoughts, they're morally destroying us.
Right. But still, though,
I would agree with that.
You've got societies that they're a little past the Stone Age, but man alive, they're not very much past it.
Makes you want to get into politics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I posted about that. I said the send them back chants rock European Parliament after landslide vote to speed up deportations. Hails great success after EU approves sweeping new rules for illegal immigrants. And someone posted, "Oh, you're proud of this? Well, at least decent people who dislike creeps and weirdos know about you now."
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I'm just saying.
Like, what?
It's no difference. I'm just telling you, Val. When I go back and I look at, you should go to, if you got Prime, watch the documentary 1971. See what happened during 1 year out of the 200 odd years.
It's one of those terms of the Renaissance type thing. It's almost like now.
Look at all the things they dealt with and turned from what we had believed in Western civilization. Gay rights. The whole thing about, women's rights, as they like to say. That was when the ERA was coming out, but they never could get it passed
civil rights,
necessary. And civil rights was going on. The Vietnam War was happening.
Gas prices.
And it's crazy. I looked at that and I thought to myself, no wonder I was so screwed up back then.
It took you a while.
It was a screwed up area. It was a screwed up time. It's amazing.
You look back on that and you wonder how you lived, huh?
In fact, I'll just say this. The boomers were living the 21st century long before anybody else.
And you know what? We had the coolest cars and the coolest music back then.
That's what they say.
There's a Val that was doing that.
Yeah, I'm Gen X. I don't know. We had the coolest cars, I think.
I know. We had all the muscle cars. We had thing. And about that time, they start wanting to do the gas lines.
But here's what's cool. All right, let me tell you. Here's what's cool. Muscle cars back then are not even close to the muscle car that is a regular car today.
But they had carburetors.
Well, right, because the muscle cars back then didn't have as many horsepower as a modern minivan. Or maybe about the same.
Like I drove around, like I always talk about my Charger 440. And that's a 440-inch motor that was sitting in that car. Now I look at a car that has the same or more horsepower, and the engine is a third of the size of what
you look
it was.
And light.
Like you look at the Tesla now. Tesla, you're going 0 to 60.
Have you ever been in a Tesla when someone really stomps on it hard?
Yeah. Oh, it's
stupid powerful.
Yeah, it's just like
for 20 minutes. That's all you get.
DC motor in there that's is running it, and I'll tell you what, if it squalled the tires.
All right, we're out of time, guys. Thanks for being here today on the Dave Ellswick Show. Back with you. I'll wake up with you tomorrow morning. See you on the radio, 7 a.m.